Hello, Freedom Revival family. Welcome to another Candidate Connect Live. I am so excited about the candidate that we are bringing to you into your living rooms for you to get to know and to just hear a solid conversation that's going to be very raw and honest, and for you to get to know the candidate who is vying for the seat of governor of California. So if you are anywhere in California, this candidate is going to be on your ballot. So this is a great opportunity for you to get to know him and to learn a little bit more about him outside of just being a name on the ballot. So I am going to bring in Sean Friend right now, who is going to be with me tonight. And then we will be bringing in the candidate. Hello.
What's going on?
I'm so excited that this is going to work.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm stoked to have a great conversation with Anthony Trimino. What
I
an
am
incredible
too.
candidate for governor.
Yes. Hey, real quick before we bring him on, I just wanted to chat real quick about our voter guide so that people know how to access it and where it is. So why don't you do that while I get everything else set up?
I love it. All right, guys. So what we've done is we've taken the initiative to interview and vet candidates throughout San Diego County. So you'll see that I believe there are 33 candidates that we've vetted, that we've had conversations with, that we've ensured that these are liberty-minded candidates. They're not going to be establishment candidates. And there's a big difference between an establishment candidate and a liberty-minded candidate. Like we just had a conversation with Jonathan Peck. He's a great example of what it looks like to be a liberty-minded candidate. The man just wants the U.S. Constitution to be secured and protected and the rights of citizens to be respected. And so our candidate, our voter guide was created to give you guys the tools so that you're not looking at your ballot wondering, which one do I go with? Like, which name sounds most familiar? You know, you're going to go with a name that you know is liberty-minded and freedom-oriented. And so those can be found on freedomrevival.org as well as Freedom Revival Events, the Instagram. You can go up there, and I believe it has the campsite link that you can go there, click that, and find the download resources. And we want you to take initiative. You know, for too long, we've been sitting back expecting somebody else to preserve the republic, and look at what that has gotten us. So now it's time to get engaged. We have to do something, and something small you can do. Take that printout, take it to your local restaurants that you go visit, go take it to, give it to your friends, family, share it on social media, because we need to get the word out that there are liberty-minded candidates that are worth voting for to help get them through the primary.
So good. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on with Anthony right now. We're going to bring him on, and then we're just going to dive in real quick too for everybody joining. There's a little arrow down in the right-hand corner. Start sharing this because, like I said, Anthony Trimino is going to be on everyone's ballot in California. So let's get this in front of people. And with no further ado, hello, Mr. Anthony Trimino.
Hey guys.
What's going on?
It works this time. Yeah, look at this. Sean, you have a new background, Sean.
I do, man. It's like 2 hours later, dude. You've got the awesome background, though. I've got to get those flags, man. Those are awesome.
All right.
I told Sean,
so cool.
You look very presidential. I like it. You're very official.
Let's take California back, and then we'll worry about DC afterwards. How about that?
Let's go. Let's start with California. Yeah. Hey, real quick, as we just bring you on, I want you to just give us in a nutshell who you are, what your background is, and just so people kind of can get the flavor of who you are.
Yeah, so obviously I'm not a politician. I'm the grandson of a man who fled communist Cuba to pursue the American dream. I think we would all agree that that American dream is on life support here in California. Yeah. I am husband to Jennifer. We've been married 25 years. We have 5 beautiful children, 4 biological, 1 adopted, and we were foster care parents for a season of our life. I built the company up during the time when my wife and I were eating hamburger helper without the meat in a small little apartment. We had a cardboard box for a coffee table, a plastic dining table, and a broken refrigerator. And I too wanted to pursue the American dream. So I started my company 20 years ago and built that company up to what Inc. magazine just called one of the fastest growing privately held companies in America. And so coming into 21, you know, the wind was in my sails. Business was going great. Family was going great. Everything was, we thought we were coming out of a pandemic. And all of a sudden, I started to smell smoke. I started to hear about what was being taught in our public schools, critical race theory, gender studies, sexuality, conversations that nobody should have with our children outside of our home. I started to see businesses that were closed that would never reopen, churches that were closed, rising crime, homelessness. I told my wife we needed to get out of California. California was on fire. We needed to move out. she dug her heels in and she said, you know, you really need to think about what we're leaving behind. I thought she was talking about the weather, but ultimately God opened my eyes. And when I look back at California, this burning building that I wanted to get away from, I realized that there were 40 million people trapped inside. It was my mom, my dad, siblings, nephews, nieces, my employees, our church community, and 40 million or millions of other faces that I did not recognize, but I knew they couldn't just up and leave. And as you guys know, I'm raising boys into men. And what would it show them?
Come on.
Just because we could leave, we did leave. Times got tough, you left. And I knew that what I did next in that moment would define me in front of my boys more than anything I'd ever said. So we decided to dig our heels in, make a run for governor, not because I want to be a politician. I actually don't want to be a politician, but I don't believe that a politician is going to save us. And 2 weeks ago, I was at the California GOP. I walked into that place knowing that a politician wasn't going to save us. I walked out absolutely convinced that it's going to take someone from the outside that takes this fight personal. I'm a father, a business owner. I'm the manifestation of the American dream. Everything that we're fighting for in California is personal to me, and that's why I stood, and I'm staying to fight.
Oh my
Gosh, that's so good. You know what I
Fired
love?
up, bro.
I know, it's so good. I mean, you know that I've been a fan of you for a while, Anthony. I dug into you when you were running against Newsom in the recall, that special election that we had. And what I fell in love with you was just how raw and honest you are with me when we've done lives and then just one-on-one. You're the same person. And I love what you just said about realizing when you went into that GOP convention that a politician isn't going to save us. I want you to tease that out for us. Expand on that.
Yes.
Well, the problems that exist today in California are a result of politicians. If you think about the California we live in today, that's almost 20 years in the making under Newsom, when he was a mayor, then lieutenant governor, and now governor. I mean, we are living in the California that was created for us by politicians. And it's going to take someone from the outside with a different mindset, with a different vision for California to fix it. I often get asked all the time, actually, when you get to Sacramento, what are you going to do? What's the first thing you're going to do? And I said, my time in Sacramento is going to be less about what I do and more about what I'm going to undo. And I think that that's the mentality we need to go in with. It's not so much about these radical changes. It's about the radical undoing of things that have been taken from us, liberties and freedoms that have been stripped from us. This is not the California my grandfather left Cuba to pursue, and it's not the one I want to hand over to my kids.
Yes, so good.
Why is it that it seems that there is such a divide in the California GOP and liberty-minded candidates like yourself or like the Jonathan Pecks, which we spoke with earlier? Why is it so? Where's the disconnect?
Republicans don't know how to win, and there's more money in running than there is in winning. And so there's this natural tendency to fight against that thing that looks different, that feels different. And so being at convention, I realized you have a bunch of people there that have a one-track mind. They're not innovating, they're not imaginative, they don't know how to win, they only know how to run. And then you have a group of us that are coming up that shouldn't be doing what we're doing, because we shouldn't have to be doing this, but we're doing it. And we have a whole different perspective and a whole different incentive. Our incentive is different. And I really saw what we were doing, how disruptive it was when on Sunday, the last day of convention, is when they actually voted to endorse candidates. And, you know, they went through seat after seat after seat. And for the most part, the establishment candidate pretty much took, you know, the endorsement from the up and coming or grassroots candidate fairly quickly. First round, most of the time, maybe second round. But then they got to the governors and something interesting happened. So first round of voting, I split the vote with the establishment person and one of the candidates fell off. Second vote, we pretty much split the votes again. The other candidate fell off. Then it was just me and the establishment candidate. They went into a third round of voting. We split the vote again. Then there was a glitch in the system and they had to vote a fourth time. They voted a fourth time and the final tally was somewhere around 56-44. We split the vote, forcing what the GOP calls a non-endorsement scenario, because you need 61% or more to get the endorsement. So after 4 rounds of voting, the establishment candidate wasn't able to get the endorsement. So they voted for no endorsement. But somebody got up and petitioned and actually forced a motion to reconsider. And check this out. They forced a motion to reconsider on these grounds. 1, we have to endorse somebody. We can't go into no endorsement on the governor. And 2, the candidate that is the establishment candidate, he's one of us. He's been around for 25 years. For God's sake, he knows where the bathrooms are in Sacramento. That was the argument, by the way. That was the argument to force the 5th round of voting.
Wow.
They went into a 5th round of voting, and on the 5th round of voting, he was able to get 61% of the vote. But what we showed in that is that even within, so we know that we have built in an enormous grassroots campaign, but we wanted a temperature check to see if we were disruptive enough to get the establishment attention. And what that showed was even the establishment understands that if you want to get to places you've never been, you got to start doing things you've never done. And that looks like me.
You know what? It's fascinating to know how the process works, because for those of us who are coming at it from the outside, we kind of understand the games that are played, but to have that transparency of like, no, there are actual politics in the politics is mind-blowing. And that's where Sean and I and Freedom Revival comes in, we've recognized a problem with both parties and just this establishment monster that is, it's absorbing power to make itself an authority versus protecting the power of the people. And so I want to ask you about that. As governor, how will you protect and defend the rights that are granted to us in our California and U.S. Constitution?
Well, by upholding the Constitution. So you guys know, I have friends and family in Cuba. One of the things that gives me a unique perspective is I know what it's like. I've set my eyes, not too many people can say this, but I've walked streets and I've put my eyes on the impact and effect of socialism and communism. I know what it looks like when your rights and your liberties have been stripped from you and taken from you. And so I often say, you know, a few months ago in Cuba, there was an uprising. They took to the streets. They finally were fighting for basic human rights. And within 3 hours, a heavily armed military shut them down. They were beaten, prosecuted. They were incarcerated, and some of them were exiled, and all of them were starved. But they were marching through their streets, carrying a flag, fighting for freedom. And it wasn't a Russian flag, and it wasn't a Chinese flag. It was an American flag. And I often tell people when I talk about the importance of upholding our Constitution, if we don't fight now, it'll be our children 61 years from now marching in our streets, holding someone else's flag, begging for the basic rights and freedoms that we allowed them to take from us. So this is the hill, this is the time, and we need to uphold and protect our Constitution, our laws, our liberties at all costs.
Amen.
Well, you weren't supposed to make me cry yet.
Dude, I know,
like,
I'm like getting teary-eyed, dude. Same. It's so relieving just to hear candidates speak about how great this country is. The fact that there are nations around the world that carry the American flag because it is a pillar. It is a foundation of liberty. It is what it is. Like it's who we are. It's the church being able to say that I want to have rights and they're granted from God, and all people in the world, or all people in the United States, will have that liberty. Not everybody's a citizen, but everyone is a people. All people are given the rights. And I am so disappointed that the number of Marxist and communist ideas that have seeped into the minds of people to believe that America is some kind of corrupt, bigoted, rooted ideology. But in reality, it's been a bastion of hope, but it's the corruption, it's the rotting that has come into this house that's destroyed the foundation of the home. It's not the house. The house was built well.
They have nothing to compare it to. Have them go visit Cuba, walk the streets, go to China. You actually experience what it's like, and these people have no clue because they have nothing to compare it to. So good. It's sad on one hand, but we have to do our best to educate, citizens, our kids. We need to bring civics back in school, make people fall in love with our flag again. So I have a friend. I made a friend in Cuba. His name is Mario. He's a taxi cab driver, and after the uprising in Cuba, they shut down all communications, right? They turned off cell service, shut down the internet, and they isolated the Cuban people from the rest of the world. It took a few months for them to actually get internet service again. And I was driving with my wife in the car, and I actually got a Facebook call from Mario. So I took it, put him on speaker, and he was happy to hear my voice. He said, we just got internet back, and I'm so grateful to hear your voice. He said, brother, he says, I've been watching you on Facebook, and I'm sitting here next to my son who just turned a year old. And he says, brother, you have to win, because if you don't win, and if America falls, my son will never know what it's like to walk a free man. And it was so profound that he was sitting there and understanding and watching from afar from Cuba the things that were happening here in California. And he had the awareness to know that if California falls and America falls, there is no other place on earth, and there is no hope for his son. So the eyes of the world are watching what we're doing here in America, but specifically what's happening in California.
Well, let me jump in. No,
I got it.
This
mine
is
was
mine.
so good.
All right, so you hold yours to the next. Okay.
Go.
You mentioned in your story, Anthony, that you were raised, as you're building your company up, that you were eating a hamburger helper with no meat. And I think that's what California is right now. We're eating hamburger helper with no meat. And is it possible to turn it around? Can we restore this state?
Well, obviously, we're believers, so we know that anything is possible. So, of course, God can restore this state. But we have a lot of work ahead of us. We have to change the mentality. First of all, we have to change the leadership, right? And that goes for, cutting the head off the snake like I'm trying to do all the way down the school boards, right? We have to change the leadership. We have to get people to believe that we can change it and stop leaving, right? We need to get more people to do what we're doing, to dig their heels in and say, no, I'm not going to leave. So we need to get people believing again, believing what's possible. But yeah, I do believe we can change it. We put right leadership in, we put the right people in with the right heart, with the right vision, with the right character. I say this all the time. This is so important. Any candidate that you're looking at, thinking of voting for, they've practiced all their talking points. Everybody has the right answer for every topic that ails us today. You want to talk about fire, water, energy. Okay, everybody has a talking point. That's not what you elect somebody based off of. We have lost sight of the importance of voting on integrity and character, because it's the pandemic or the emergency that comes in the future that we don't know about right now that's really going to be the true test, right? If you think about Newsom isn't acting any different than who he is. If we look at the type of man we elected, of course he was going to make these decisions. It's in his character.
Yes.
It's in his DNA. It's in his integrity.
Totally.
He only knows how to be one way. And what we're seeing, the destruction of our state, he's the same person the day he was elected that he is now. So what we have to do is do a better job looking past the issues that exist today. And we need to look at character. We need to look at integrity. We need to look at vision, because a year from now, when the next emergency happens, you're going to want to know that that person has the integrity and character to make the best decisions for the state of California, and they're not self-seeking in their process. So that's more important, integrity and character, when we think about electing people.
That's so good. I say a lot that we're living through the collapse of the empire, but I don't believe that we are so far gone yet that it cannot be redeemed. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. If I thought it was done, I would be spending my time on a beach. Honestly, I have more exciting things to do that would be more pleasurable than what I'm doing here, and I'm sure each of us on here can say the same thing, but I believe that it's not beyond redemption. And people can say whatever they want about California. I still believe we have a chance, and I believe the midterms are that final check and balance on whether or not the Republic rises or falls. If you win this seat, we are under such an assault from so many different angles. What in your position will you focus on to restore the Republic and stop the collapse?
So I don't like to say if, I like to say when I take this office. It wasn't the time in the recall, but things are in motion now, and I believe we're going to do it this
Mm-hmm.
time around.
Come on.
So what are we going to do? We're going to restore trust in integrity back in office. So I've told you guys oftentimes, what are the first things I'm going to do in office? Obviously, we're still going to be under a state of emergency. We're going to lift the state of emergency. We're going to eliminate the mandates across the state, right? That's easy. That's before lunch stuff. But what's happening, what I believe the biggest attack in California right now is on our kids, born and the unborn. And the attack on our family in the battlefield are our schools. We need to get in there. We need to make illegal critical race theory, gender studies, completely outlaw that from our classrooms and punish those that serve to continue to instill those radical ideologies into our children. That is like priority number one, is securing our children, our families, our values. All the other stuff is, it's process driven, it's advisory board driven. There's a process to getting all the homelessness, letting our police be police again, obviously addressing all of those issues. But fundamentally, I think we'd all agree that what's happening in California has absolutely nothing to do with politics. This is good and evil, light and darkness. The bills that are being put forth, the bills that are being passed, the bills that are on the table have absolutely nothing to do with politics. There is no beneficiary here. It's just ultimate destruction of the family unit, and I need to stop it.
Ooh,
Amen.
preach.
If you take, I just posted earlier, you want to collapse an empire, you go for the kids, and you make the parents irrelevant. And that's exactly what we're living through. 866 just passed the Senate floor in California, which literally is a complete undercutting. And I want people to understand the severity of this. It undercuts the authority of parents to get to the kids. What their goal is to make parents completely irrelevant so that the government has no shield between government and youth. And we have seen this throughout world history. This is how you conquer a people, is you go, if you want to infiltrate, you get to the youth. It's Germany 2.0, what we're living through. And we need to elect people who are going to reestablish the authority of parents and the family unit, and not have big daddy government be the one that's expanding in its power. So I'm appreciative that you see it the same way.
On that note, with discussing the necessity of education, Anthony, what are your thoughts on charter schools and homeschooling?
I'm absolutely for it. We have a broken school system, and I think parents need more choices than ever. How are we going to dismantle the teachers' unions? By giving power back to the parents. How do we do that? We give them more options. So charter school, homeschooling, absolutely. I'm a big proponent. I was working on driving, signatures for school choice and helping that initiative and getting that pushed forward. Obviously it failed. They didn't get enough signatures, but ultimately that's how we dismantle the teachers union, put power back into the hands of of parents, and we give them more options for their kids. I absolutely believe that the money should follow the child. So I'm all for it.
I love that. Hey, a question came in that I think is really good. When you are elected, you will be battling the media, especially in California. How would you handle mainstream media and attacks that are intentionally slanderous, leaving out truth just to try to get you to pull you down? How would you handle that kind of an aggressive media? Yes, those tactics.
Yeah, so it would help if, I don't know, I had spent the last 20 years in advertising, marketing, branding, messaging. I mean, I don't know, perhaps. So I've often said, God has equipped me for such a time as this, and I mean every single area of my life, including in business. So we do reputation management for big Fortune 500 companies that have issues where, whether it's a product that goes bad or whether it's service, or we help them understand how to create messaging, how to, change the narrative, control the narrative, alter the narrative, how to bring truth out in the midst of deception. And let's just get into it. There's, I'm even dealing with it as a candidate, right? So at various levels, of course you are. First of all, I thank God for the covering that he has on me, because we ultimately have been, pretty covered throughout this whole process. But every now and then something comes up that is completely deceptive or false, that looks to attack, that looks to tear down what we're building, that looks to, and more importantly, it looks to distract. And so how do I deal with that? Is I stand firm on truth. I stand firm on transparency. I attack it. I address it. I don't hide from it. I bring it out to the surface. I call things out for what they are. I'm not afraid to fight. I'm not afraid to battle. I'm not afraid to call people out on things. And ultimately, I'm a true believer that if you are walking righteously and in truth and in light, that not only will you have God's covering, but the truth always penetrates, and the truth will always exist, and you can't deny it. And so I just stand firm on the decisions that I've made. I'm in this for the right reasons. Every single thing I've done, I stand behind. I'm completely transparent and integral in every aspect of what I'm doing. I haven't changed my narrative one time, and you guys know me. You know my heart.
Well,
I want to add to that.
Gosh, I want to add to it.
I know. Well, you get to right after me. You got the last
Okay, go ahead.
So personal point is, you guys, those of you who know me know that I research like crazy. It's my middle name. And so I just want to say something real quick, just to really just call out some of the or recent article email that hit the fan regarding you. It was trying to revive a story that had hit back during the recall that was factually inaccurate intentionally. It was the second time that this person had published a piece to try to take you down. And back in October, when this article hit, I researched it heavily. I picked up my phone and I made the phone calls, and I did due diligence. And back in October, when this landed, I realized very quickly what it was. It was an attempt to sabotage you because you looked like a threat to the establishment. And so my mode was to ignore it. And when people privately asked me, I told them that, and I gave them the facts that I had easily found. So I want to challenge people now, as there is an attempt to revive this fraudulent article from months and months ago because again, you're being seen as a threat to others who are campaigning, that we've got to do research. Don't read a headline or even read an article and then just take it as God's truth. You need to do work. You need to get your fingernails dirty, especially if you're going to go on to parrot information that, or any claims that are made, allegations that are made, especially when it comes to candidates. You need to research heavily before you decide whether or not you agree with claims and allegations that are made.
You know, let me jump in real quick. This reminds me of a president that we just had. How an establishment will come to attack the man who's not in the establishment. And I can only imagine how it's only going to continue to grow against you, being that you're not one of the cronies, you're not one of the sellouts, you're not one of the individuals that's willing just to pay a price and do whatever's necessary, sacrifice the liberty of the people to gain some more capital. That's not you. You're not desperate. Neither was the former president. He wasn't desperate. And you can see the media just barrage the man to try to discredit him. And I applaud you for your continual character and your morality and your perseverance, because you're doing things that I've never seen a candidate do. For example, AB 223, where the state is coming to murder children. They want to continue to make, like you said, Britt, parents irrelevant, as well as trying to remove the life that's coming in the future generations. And you, unlike other candidates, you decided to show up. Where are the other candidates during AB 223?
Not only show up, but if you think about it, this wasn't even a campaign stop. So this was so near and dear to my heart and so important to me that when I saw that there was an opportunity to go up there to Sacramento, I called 9 of the most influential pastors in Southern California. And I said, guys, we got to go. Like, we got to go. Like, let's, hey, are you willing to come with me? I asked 9 pastors.
Come on.
All 9 of them said yes. On my own dime, I flew up all the pastors. We went to Sacramento. We stood on the steps. I didn't even speak. We just went there to just show support, stand there, to be there, to pray. We prayed on those steps. We prayed for our unborn babies. We prayed for the people that were making these laws. We prayed against these laws. But I saw something happening. I wanted to be part of it. I got 9 pastors. We flew up there. And by the way, there were only 15 pastors on those steps that day. 9 of them came with me.
Come on.
I've done this throughout the entire process where I put my money where my mouth is. I put my own personal resources into those things that I believe in. I started We Are Still Heroes. And by the way, going back to that article, what's interesting is that our sights should be set on the evil that exists in government and in Sacramento. And instead, there's mudslinging and arrows flying from within our own
So annoying.
group. And it's not only annoying, but that's what the enemy wants.
Yes.
And so,
so true.
So this whole article that came out completely fabricated. They're using information
another hit
isn't
piece.
correct. I've explained it multiple times. There's even 2 videos. Pastor Tim Thompson, 412. I go into details. The people that are spreading these rumors don't want the truth. They did not call me directly.
Well, it's because they work for another campaign. They got another campaign.
They even saw me in person.
So
days
obvious.
It's on
the
their
article
Instagram.
came out.
So obvious.
And they didn't come to me to talk. So they don't want
Of course,
the truth.
dude. It's
They don't want
not
the
even
truth.
worth talking about.
But the funny thing, though, is that even within that article, it mentions the fact that even during this period of time, I put my own money. And by the way, it was like $128,000 to launch We Are Still Heroes, a statewide campaign against the discrimination that was happening against our frontline heroes who are being terminated and put on leave because they didn't want to take the vaccine. So we're going to put this to bed. It's inaccurate. It's false. And we need to focus on the true enemy, which is Newsom and Sacramento.
Oh my
yeah,
God,
and
absolutely.
I want to just, because we're there, can you just tell people who may not know what your position on medical freedom is? What is your position on medical freedom?
Come on.
My position on medical freedom today is the same position it was from the day that you guys met me, and it has never changed. It's that I believe in our ability to have the right to choose what's best for our family. Medical decisions shouldn't be made in Sacramento. They should be made at your dinner table. And while there are people that are completely anti-vax and completely for vax, my position is really simple. Do what's best for you and your family. It's about freedom of choice. It's about medical choice. And while I have my own personal opinions on it and there are decisions I would make and not make, the bottom line is that we need to equip people with information, and medical decisions should be made by you, your family, and your physicians. No sitting officials should have any say in what we do with our bodies with regards to,
Okay, I'm going to take a few questions because I know that we're wrapping up and I want to get through a handful of the questions that have come in. So we're just going to kind of rapid fire through these. Where do you stand on the Second Amendment?
I've purchased more guns in the last 12 months than in the last 45 years. It's too long to get.
That's right. That's right.
Ammunition costs too much, and we need to roll back the 111 laws that exist in California and the growing gun roster.
Amen. That was as honest as you can be.
If we could get rid of that gun roster, holy Lord. Come
let's
on.
go. All right. Are you going to push against mail-in ballots? That may be more a question of how are you going to, when you are elected, what are you going to do with the system of, it is a system, the election system in California?
We're going to audit it, third-party, transparent audit up and down the state and investigate our entire voting process. And if we have to go back to paper ballots while we investigate, while we audit, so be it. We go back to what worked before we changed it. But we need to radically look at it and audit it. It's broken. I've seen it with my own eyes, and it needs to be resolved. It needs to be fixed. But it's not going to happen until we get the right person in office.
That's right. What ideas do you have in place for the homelessness in Los Angeles? And I would say San Francisco and San Diego as well.
Yeah, across the state. So there's 2 parts. Number one, we're going to get behind our nonprofits and our churches across the state. They have people on the ground already doing the good work. They have no structure. They have no state support. We're going to help fund them. We're going to help organize them. We're going to work with organizations like One Day LA to actually create an infrastructure so that we can go into the streets, help in a compassionate way, get the people that need help. But we're going to also let our police be police again. We're going to make arrests for people that are on our streets illegally. We're going to put them in prison. We're going to incarcerate them where need be, give people mental help where they need it, rehabilitation where they need it. But the people that are coming to our state, because our governor has basically made it convenient for them, where we're paying $600 for people to just post up on Venice Beach and say, hey, beachfront property, $600 debit card every month. We've made it convenient. We are now, the epicenter of homelessness in the nation, and we're going to fix it.
A
I've got a
question that
question for you.
came,
Hold on.
oh,
Can
yeah,
I
go
just jump
ahead.
in real quick?
Go ahead.
All right.
Yep.
So being that we all encountered the lockdown and being in California, it seems to have been the worst. I mean, Hawaii could have been worse. Maybe New York's worse with the lockdowns. Are there any governors that you saw that handled the lockdown in a way that you would, or maybe that would inspire you, or do you feel like you would have done it differently?
No, of course there are. DeSantis is one of them. I get asked all the time, what do you think of DeSantis? Are you going to follow his blueprint? Here's what I say about DeSantis. I'm not going to follow his blueprint or be like DeSantis. We're going to be better than DeSantis. My goal in California is to make DeSantis jealous of California. In fact, within the first year, I want DeSantis getting on a plane asking me how I did what I did so he can implement it back there. But he's a great
So
example
good.
of somebody who didn't toe the line, who basically created an alternative blueprint that was for the people, that served the will of the people, and he didn't implode his infrastructure. So DeSantis is a great example of somebody who did things differently, and look at the net outcome of that.
That's great.
A question that keeps coming up is how you view the farmers in California, and any ideas you have of supporting
Water.
farmers in our state with the water issues and the regulations and all of that, just going into the issues that are facing our farmers.
We have huge support in the farming community, and I have yet to speak to one single farmer who didn't tell me the same thing. We don't have a water problem, we have a water management problem. And so it's quite simply reallocating the water that's pouring into our bay, right? And giving it and reallocating it to our farmers who are paying for it. It's reimagining how we collect water, how we make water, and building an infrastructure. There's 60 billion gallons of water a day that leak out of faulty infrastructure. It's about investing in infrastructure so that we don't have the shortage, the man-made shortage because of poor infrastructure. It's collecting water, and it's innovating and giving the farmers the water that they already deserve and pay for, but they're not getting because of Newsom's policies to bow a knee to the conservationist.
Okay, just a couple more questions before we call it a night. It's always so sad to, because I'm like, we're on a roll. Will California, Los Angeles, down here in San Diego, we've got it, San Francisco, ever be affordable, a place that's affordable to live? Many people are leaving the state due to the high cost. What are your ideas to change that?
Yeah, so that's what we want to do, make it affordable again. We want to look at regulations. So think about this. I was talking to a developer. Says, I spent $500,000 getting a traffic survey for a building that I wanted to create. That's $500,000. And then the project was delayed by 2 years, which means a higher cost to build. So if you think about this, and he says, here's the net impact on the community. I finally build my property and I finally go to lease it. I have to recoup those fees. In order to do that, I have to set rent amounts that are the highest in the community. So I have to do that. Now, what happens is all the other buildings around me, I've now set the new market. And so they get an opportunity to raise their rents as well for properties that are far inferior. But it creates this inflated market where nobody wins, where you have vacancies from property owners and people are paying way too high rent for properties that are not worth that. And we're seeing it across the state. So it's about building an advisory board of developers across the state to actually look at regulations, red tape, reversing them, making it affordable to build so that it can become affordable to live.
All right, 2 last questions. There are so many. I'm so sorry I can't get to all of the questions, so I'm trying to pick up some that seem a little bit repetitive that people want to know. So just a couple of last ones. What will you do to tackle the high gas prices in I mean, we are just spending money in California like we have money trees. So how would you tackle the high gas prices in California?
Well, we're going to work to put a moratorium on it, right? I know that we have people that are fighting in Avon and people in elected office that are fighting against it. Here's the thing that I want everybody to know about our gas prices. Our governor has an agenda to eliminate gas-consuming vehicles. What better way to force you into that agenda than to make gas so expensive that you can't afford to drive your car? So we start to look at his broken policies. We start to rewrite them, to undo them. Then we're able to actually tackle some of these problems. bottom line is, as a business owner, think about this. We consume more gas than anybody in the nation. We should be paying the lowest price for gas in the nation. But our system is broken because we don't have a businessman in office.
Right.
So
I've got a
good.
question on that. Before the next one, Britt. So we were watching San Francisco constantly get raided by criminals, going in and out of these stores, so much so that CVS has left San Francisco. What would you do to handle this problem?
Well, we need to let police be police again, right? So we need to equip them, support them. We need to hire more police. We need to fund the police. The bottom line is, I just spoke about it tonight. Police are being asked to stand down. It's counterintuitive for a police officer to see a crime and to not make an arrest, but they're being asked to stand down because of our broken laws.
Yeah.
Early release, no cash bail. Police are making arrests. And I get this told, I was just told by a sheriff, I made an arrest. I sent this person in for booking. I ran down to McDonald's to get lunch. When I came back, I saw the guy walking down the street again. Early release, no cash bail. It's a broken system. We need to let police be police again. But we need to prosecute crime so severely that nobody wants to commit a crime in California. We need to set an example so that this is the last place in the nation that you want to commit a crime, because we will make an example out of you.
So good.
So good. Okay, this is the last question for you before we wrap up. With 20 or so Republicans, how will you get your name out enough to win? And I think that is a really important question to focus on, because there are going to be a lot of names on the ballot. So what sets you apart, and how can people support you as you vie for this position?
Well, a couple of ways. So first of all, we just launched our Showdown for Sacramento, Battle for the Capital Media Blitz. You'll start seeing it, TV, radio, print, outdoor. It's pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. And so we're going to get our word out through traditional media, obviously. But here's how we win. Here's the path to win. So I tell everybody, you have one silver bullet. Your vote is the silver bullet. You got to put it where it's going to do the most amount of damage. So how can you get behind a candidate that can win? In California, this is the only path to victory. And no matter who you talk to, you need these three things to win in California. Number one, you need the Latino vote. If you don't get the Hispanic vote, you do not win in California, period. End of story. So I'm 50% Mexican, 50% Cuban. I was born here. I'm 100% American. So now we have the candidate that best reflects the diversity that exists within California. Number two, we're endorsed by people like Lexit, which is the biggest grassroots movement of Latinos exiting the Democrat Party in the nation. And I don't know if you guys know who Pastor Samuel Rodriguez is. Pastor Samuel Rodriguez, he's responsible for Latinos for Trump, the biggest movement of Hispanic votes in U.S. history, on the team advocating for us. We're going to get the Hispanic vote. Second thing you need is the evangelical vote. If the church does not get involved, we don't win. The church needs to wake up. We have nine of the most influential pastors in California on our side, endorsed us, behind us with their pulpit and their resources. And through Churches United, over 3,000 churches behind us, and that grows every single day. We will get the evangelical vote. The last thing we need is the grassroots vote. What does that look like today in California? It's moms. If you think about the organizations that have been set up over the last 6 to 12 months, these grassroots organizations across the state of moms and grandparents advocating for our children against mandates, against masks, against critical race theory, etc. We have the biggest coalition of grassroots supporters in the entire state. In fact, if you added up all the candidates together, they don't have nearly a fraction of the support that we have up and down the state in those three areas. And you need those three areas to win. So I am the silver bullet in this election. You guys need to get behind me. With your support, I'll be the 41st governor of California. Let's go.
Let's go, dude. All right. That got me fired up. I imagine everybody else is fired up. So what can people tangibly do? What's a call to action where we are all ready, dude? We're loving this. We're here. We're fully engaged. We need a tangible thing that we could do to support you and empower you to ensure that you're our next governor.
So a couple things, right? If all you have is your voice, if all you have is your platform, use it. Share our message. Get the word out. Use social media. Call your friends. Door knock. Actually do the hard work, right? If all you can do is pray, we'll take your prayers as well. But here's another thing that we need. And I want to say it like this. When my wife and I were eating Hamburger Helper in that apartment, I made a decision that I would put ourselves in a position where I never had to ask for help. And so this place that I'm in is foreign to me because I don't like to ask for help. But I realized that this is bigger than me, and it takes resources that are beyond my own resources. So when we talk about donation and the importance of donating to all candidates, I like to say it like this. So imagine, Sean, that you have a child, and I know you do, but imagine your child was in the ocean drowning, and you couldn't save that child.
Oh, dude.
But I came along and I said, hey, Sean, I'll jump in the water and I'll rescue your child. But hey, can I get some fins so that I can get to your child faster? And imagine if you looked at me and said, no, man, sorry, I'm not going to help you. And then Britt, imagine if your child was next to his in the ocean. I said, Britt, I'll go and I'll save your child. But can you give me a life jacket so that I can actually stay afloat while I swim to your child? And imagine if you looked at me and said, no, you're going to have to do it on your own. Well, that's what you say to a candidate when you don't put your finances behind their campaign.
So we have to do this.
We're going anyway. With or without it, we're going. I'm jumping in that water, and I'm going to do everything I can to save our children. But if you can help with the fin, with the life jacket, with the snorkel, we'll take any help we can get. $1, a million, it doesn't matter.
Dude.
But we all need to be invested in this.
All right, I've got to touch on this. You were just in a meeting of sorts, and I was listening to the live stream, and there was a man who asked you a question, and he said, what can we do to help you? I have 5 houses, 3 in Washington, 2 in Oregon, and 1 here, so 6 houses in California. And do you have bumper stickers? Like, do you have a bumper sticker that I can take or something? And I was so appalled by the ignorance of an individual not to recognize a sincere, real need that exists. And I'm calling on the church. I'm calling on the Latinos. I'm calling on the Black community. I'm calling on the moms. I'm calling on individuals that recognize the system's broken, and the only way to fix it is through free people, liberty-focused and constitutional individuals getting engaged. And I'm calling on you guys to do something. Donate money. Volunteer. Get some yard signs and pass them out. Have a gathering of people and go through the voter guide. Like, have conversations and do more than just slapping a bumper sticker. Do more than just putting a sign in your yard. Uncomfortable. I don't enjoy these conversations. Sometimes they're really hard for me. I freak out, but I do it anyway because we have to help these candidates. Because if we want a free state, the only way it gets free is if citizens get engaged again.
That's right. And you know what? Just to circle all the way back to the beginning of this conversation, this is about electing someone who is going to stand for the people and for the republic, and not stand for these manufactured institutions and systems at play, but to actually go in and flip those tables back to the way we were supposed to be. And that's why I stand with you, Trimino, and I have stood with you through thick and thin, because I've dug into you. I know your heart. I know that you are who you say you are. And that's why the attacks come. And I am so thankful that you stand so firm, that you are so resilient through it, and that it's just like, let's just dust it off and let's keep going, because I'm for the people, and I am going to fight for the people. And ultimately, that's what I want for my family in California. I want someone who I know is sitting there to protect me, not someone who's sitting there to pander to Washington, D.C. and to make this a socialist experiment of a Cuba 2.0. Really, I don't want that. I want a lion in that seat who's going to protect me, who's going to protect my due rights, my First Amendment, my Second Amendment, all the way down. That's what I want. And that's why I'm standing with you, and why it is so imperative that whatever you can do, you do it now, because otherwise we're going to lose this state. And then we're going to be looking back wishing, I wish I would have just done a little more, just a little. I wish I would have gotten just a little bit more uncomfortable. Because you know what? It's going to get damn uncomfortable. It's going to get so uncomfortable. If we keep this tyrant who we have in right now, the thing's gonna fall. So it is so important now that we get just a little bit more uncomfortable, so that we can look back and say, I did it all. I did everything I could do, and my conscience is clear.
I actually want to touch on that real fast as we end, doing everything that we can. So I made a promise to God when I began this. So I don't know if you guys know, I'm doing 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm sleeping 4 hours a day. Last month, in 30 days, we did 127 events. I don't say that because I need pity.
Wow.
What I'm trying to say is I made a commitment to God that at the end of this, he will say, well done, good and faithful servant. That there was no stone that I will leave unturned. That's
Come
how
on.
hard I'm working to do this. I'm not running to win. I'm running to serve. It's completely, it's an interesting concept. I've tried to get my head around this whole time. What are you fighting for? Do you know what happens when you win? Do you know what
Come
your
on.
life is like when you win? And
Come on.
I'm so focused on just being obedient and doing it. I'm out here working so hard for you guys every single day, every night, the sacrifice on the business, the sacrifice on the family. And again, it's not for pity. What I'm trying to say is no one is going to outwork me. No one is going to out-strategize us. We're doing every single possible thing that we can to win so that we can take back our state. I'm determined to do this. We will not fail.
Dude,
How can people find you? Because I'm sure they just fell in love with you and they want to support you and they want to put you in that dang seat. So how do they find you and how do they support you right now tonight?
Just the easiest way is go to battle4ca.com. That'll get you also to our website. That's a landing page right now based on the campaign that we're launching, but it'll also give you a link to our website. It's easier to remember, battle4ca.com. Scroll to the bottom, it'll go to our website. You can volunteer, you can donate, you can find out about me and my family. There are videos of my family talking about this journey in their own words. You can kind of connect and see my why and why I'm doing it.
What's the maximum donation an individual can give for a campaign?
I think it's $34,200.
34,200. All right, that's a pretty. That's an individual can give $34,000. So to give context, in the county, the maximum is around like 3,000. But Anthony Trimino is attempting to get everyone in the state of California to know who he is, what he stands for, and it costs a ton of money. So you've got a high limit, guys. Try to donate what you can to the man, because we want Anthony Trimino to be the next governor of California, and he's not going to do it unless we step up and do something.
And then one last note just to tell all of you, you can go to freedomrevival.org, and right on the landing page, there's a beautiful voter guide. It's thoroughly vetted. It is such a labor of love. We have brought freedom-minded, freedom-loving candidates to you on that guide. Anthony Trimino is heavily endorsed by us personally and also by Freedom Revival as a whole. So you can download and print out 100. Go take that into the Target parking lots, put it on the community mailboxes, go put that thing on windshields.
So good.
This is an opportunity for us to be boots on the ground against the system, to flip tables and to get Anthony Trimino in that seat. But it's going to take all of us doing that work.
Come on. That's such a good word.
So,
guys,
hey,
I'm so
Anthony,
grateful.
we are so thankful for you. Thank you so much for spending all this time with us in your, you literally just jumped out of a meeting right into this one. So I'm going to send you off so you can go be with your family for the rest of the night. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and I am sure we will have you on again soon.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for all that you're doing for the voter guide. I just want to put an exclamation point on that. You guys did the hard work. You vetted candidates. You put a guide together. You guys need to download it, use it. It's a tool. Everybody has a role in this fight. Figure out what yours is. We've chosen ours. Get involved, get in it. Let's save our state together. But anyway, God bless you guys.
Amen.
I love you guys. And Sean,
dude,
I'll probably run into you like literally at the most random place.
Totally.
On the beach.
Absolutely.
I'm like, Sean,
hey man, the Lord, it's
in
just
the
the
middle
way the
of the
Lord
desert
offers.
with 3,000 men under a tent.
So good.
Or, in San Clemente on the beach. I'm like, wow, this guy's everywhere. So anyway, continue to do what you guys do. I love both of you guys.
It's
Thank
mutual.
you so much.
I love you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We'll see you again
Blessings.
soon.
We'll see you soon.